and that they left behind. Look at them now. One said it was a barn, and the others they said nay. One said it was a church with the steeple cut away. Yeah, yeah. Look at them now, run away. So they hunted and they hollered, and the next thing they did find was a witch in her cottage, and her they left behind. Yeah, yeah. Run away. One said it was a girl, and the others they said nay. One said it was an angel with her wings cut away. Look at them, look at them now, look at them, run away. So they hunted and they hollered, and the next thing they did find was an owl in a hollow, and that they left behind. Look at them now, look at them, run away. One said it was an owl, and the others they said nay. One said it was the evil one, they all ran away. Look at them now, run away. Run away.
Welcome back to the Grand Dark Conspiracy. This is the March 2009 edition of the podcast, and I'm pretty excited to finally get back to you and into your iPods and whatnot. Been a bit under the weather lately, so I'm really happy to be back and podcasting again. This month we interviewed Aurora Juliana Ariel, PhD, author of Earth 2012, The Ultimate Quest and How to Find Peace in a World of Chaos. So obviously we talked somewhat about 2012 and her thoughts on the prophecies of the end time prophecies of 2012 or not. So I hope you enjoy that interview. I would like to continue to encourage everyone to get out to the website, granddarkconspiracy.com. There we have some news that updates pretty regularly on the news page of the website. And if you want to communicate back and forth with either me or Brian Parsons, you can find links up to either email us, or you can get on our forums at granddarkconspiracy.com and click on the forums button, and you sign up. It's a pretty easy process, and there you can post there and share your ghost stories or your thoughts on the paranormal. So without further delay, let's get into the paranormal news.
The Paranormal News Insider from paranewsinsider.com. Presented by GrandDarkConspiracy.com.
Welcome to the March 2009 edition of the Paranormal News Insider on the Grand Dark Conspiracy. I'm Brian Parsons, your host, as we reflect on the most important paranormal news stories of the last month. In cryptid news, a jaguar, which were thought to be extinct in the United States since the 1970s, was recently caught by wildlife officials in Arizona. The animal was fitted with a radio collar and released back into the wild. There were recent sightings of jaguar in Arizona and New Mexico, and now with the recent discovery, the animal is no longer considered a cryptid in the United States. On February 16, 2009, an unidentified body was found in the Big Black River near US 80 outside of Vicksburg, Mississippi. It was initially believed to be human, and in conjunction with the search for a missing man. Speculation had centered on Benjamin Barrick, a 55-year-old who has not been seen since January 25th. 2 days after he drove his next-door neighbor and tenant, Sean Spanholz, to a hospital with fatal stab wounds. The death of Sean Spanholz was ruled a homicide. Barrick was questioned and released, but was not found 2 days later when deputies went to his home for further investigation. But then, as the autopsy on the body began on February 17th, it was determined it was not human. The Vicksburg Post reported it as an unidentified animal. The finding was announced by the Mississippi State Crime Lab in Jackson, but they didn't mention what kind of animal it was. "It is not human," Warren County Sheriff Martin Pace said. "I repeat, it is not human." Warren County Coroner Doug Husky, standing in for the Hines coroner, had said immediately on February 16th that he could not identify anything from the remains. The body was found by a father and son looking through scopes on rifles on US 80 just east of Warren-Hines County line at about 3 p.m. on the afternoon of February 16th. During the body's recovery, as many as 20 law enforcement officials were staged on a concrete bridge over the Big Black Backwater as the remains were taken from the water about 75 yards from the bridge and brought to land, said the Vicksburg Post. On the 17th of February, Jackson, Mississippi's Clarion Ledger noted that the Hines County Sheriff, Malcolm McMillan, confirmed also that the state crime lab test showed a body found on February 16th in the Big Black River was an animal, but not a human. There has been no follow-up article in any media, which of course has led to wild speculation. The manhunt continues for the unemployed 55-year-old Barrick, and my investigation continues as to what was found in the Big Black River. In UFO news, on February 11th in Tucson, Arizona, a UFO was spotted by numerous people, and all the descriptions were very similar. A typical saucer-shaped object with red lights, no strobes, was seen gliding through the sky when it suddenly exploded with bright white light and zoomed off horizontally at incredible speed. Shortly after, a number of helicopters were seen headed in the northerly direction of where the craft was headed. It was recently reported that Canada turned in a record number of UFO sightings for 2008. A volunteer group from Winnipeg-based ufology research estimated just over 1,000 sightings were turned in last year. It's an increase of about 25% from the year before, and the highest amount in the 20 years they have been keeping track. The group noted that it's possible that computer and internet access may have to do with the increase. It might also help that the website has had some media time during the last year as well. Some major UFO sightings were turned in the last month in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Salt Lake City, Utah, Boulder, Colorado, and Indianapolis, Indiana. In many of these sightings, triangular UFOs were sighted. And in ghost news, on February 2nd, a man was driving in Chester City Center in the United Kingdom at 12:30 a.m. when he was shocked to see a little girl, who appeared to be about 7 years old, walking down the road holding a teddy bear as he sat at a red light. Minutes later, he spotted a policeman and informed them of what he saw. Police and taxis searched the area, but were unable to find any evidence of the girl, nor were any reports of a missing girl filed. The man now believes he saw a ghost.
And now a quick rant from the insider of ParaNewsInsider.com.
In a recent blog on the Paranormal News Insider, I spoke out about ghost videos, mostly the faked variety, that are hurting the legitimacy of those who are making efforts to put evidence together to help find answers about the subject of ghosts. It seems that photographs have been the same problem for much longer. In fact, since cameras were only available to actual photographers in the late 1800s using plate film to the 35mm and now the digital age, there have always been those who have manipulated images to create ghostly photographs. The age of spiritualism brought the first public interest in ghosts, and photographs soon followed as a way to manipulate those into believing or shelling out money for more proof. Ghost photographs in the modern era seem to be based on a competitive spirit. Each person seems to be in search for the ultimate photograph that can be believed or thought to contain true proof that ghosts exist. This race comprises more than just those who merely misunderstand photographs or are attention seekers, but also include ghost groups who are looking to raise their status level amongst the ranks of their peers. The scientific slant on ghost photographs is fairly concrete. It is believed by parapsychologists that ghosts are seen as a form of extrasensory perception and therefore is formed by mind-to-mind interaction. The ghostly figures that people see have no mass, as they are not really occupying the space that they are seen in. Therefore, photographing such evidence is impossible, since cameras lack the ability to see through our brains and our eyes, as they only see the physical area. This, of course, leads to armchair theorem about infrared photography, strobe lighting, and other methods that are thought to be able to force a ghost out into the open, for lack of a better description, but ignore the fact that ghosts are only perceptions of the environment. and are not physical objects. It seems that the age of spiritualism continues, as there is a portion of the public that believes anything that will attempt to convince the whole of the same. Questions, comments can be directed at insider@paranewsinsider.com. And in other news, conferences, conventions, festivals, and other paranormal gatherings, 2009 is still shaping up to be a very active year on the conference and convention scene. Here's a sample of some confirmed events thus far. March has the ShadowCon from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, March 27th to the 29th. Details can be found at shadowcon.info. The Rose City Paranormal Conference, also known as the Mount Hood Paranormal Conference, will take place in Mount Hood, Oregon, in April 24th through the 26th. The Independent Crop Circle Research Association will have its 6th annual ICCRA 2009 Crop Circle Conference, May 15th to the 17th, near the Great Serpent Mound State Memorial. Prodigy Paranormal presents the Pecan 2009 on May 30th in Huber Heights, Ohio. The WISP, Women's International Study of the Paranormal Expo, will be held May 29th through the 31st, 2009 in Mansfield, Ohio, at the Mansfield Reformatory. June 21st will bring the Kansas City Paranormal Conference in Kansas City, Missouri, and the Canadian-American Can-Am Paracon 2009 will take place in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, August 6th through the 7th. The Ohio Paranormal Conference will take place August 14th to the 16th, 2009, in Dayton, Ohio, and October 9th to the 11th, 2009 is the East Coast Paranormal Investigators Conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. For more information on these conferences and conventions, visit our events page at paranewsinsider.com and click on the Events tab at the top. If you have any information about any event and would like to hear it here, let us know at insider@paranewsinsider.com. Be sure to visit the message board at the Grand Dark Conspiracy. I'll see you there, and I'll see you next month on the Grand Dark Conspiracy. For the Paranormal News Insider, I'm Brian Parsons.
Our intro theme is by Anta Reed, Investigating the Phantom Signal. It is provided by the Podcast Music Network at podcastsavemusic.com.
This month's Campfire Tale comes from the Grand Dark Conspiracy forums from forum member Legba. So sit back, turn out the lights, and pray that there's nothing coming up behind you in the dark. One day, my high school buddies and I got it in our heads to go investigate some info that we had found about a gravestone in this particular graveyard in Lucas. So off we went. This was not a stormy night in autumn, but a bright summer day in the heat of August. So we got to the graveyard and began to investigate the cemetery. We found the gravestones in question. And well, maybe the math didn't seem to add up. But looking back, it was nothing too spectacular. So my friend decided that maybe if we took his old Delta 88 and cruised through the graveyard, we could check everything out one last time before leaving. We slowly crept through this old cemetery on the car pathway. We heard a scraping on the roof of his car. At first we thought it's just some overhang from one of the trees lining the boundary of the burial ground that we were driving past. There was again Curious, I stuck my head out the window to see what was scraping on the roof of the car. The closest branch was some 20 feet above us. As soon as I announced this to my friend, he sped up and the car came to an abrupt halt. It felt like we had hit something. He said he felt a huge jolt go through his legs. He stepped on the accelerator, but still, we wouldn't move. The tires spun in the tracks. We could feel the car trying to move forward, but it just wasn't able to. My friend said, "Look under, see if I hit a rock on my axle. Gotta look under there to see if we're stuck on a stone or something." So I opened the car door. Heart pounding. I peeked underneath the car. There was nothing under the car. No rocks. Just a car trail. And some grass. I told my friend, "There's nothing there." And with that, the car moved forward. We left, but we did come back later. The Grand Dark Conspiracy welcomes on Aurora Juliana Ariel, Ph.D., author of the book Earth 2012, The Ultimate Quest, How to Find Peace in a World of Chaos. We're happy to have Dr. Aurora on. She holds a BA, MA, and a Ph.D. in psychology. I want to welcome Aurora Juliana Ariel, Ph.D., onto the Grand Dark Conspiracy. Hi, Dr. Aurora.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. If you want to give us a little background into what you do and what you're focused on, that'd be great.
Okay, one of my most exciting and areas of my greatest passion is to help people around the world transform their lives. I have done a lot of pioneering work in the psyche. I've made many landmark discoveries and found one of the most important things, I think, that really relate to this time even more immensely than anything else, and it's what is at the cause of suffering. Because as the planetary condition accelerates and we're going through this passage of 2012, we're seeing around us literally huge, vast changes and a whole collapsing of a way of life that many have taken for granted, and yet at the heart of all this is an immense suffering and a questioning of why can't we just transition gracefully into a better world. So through years of research and work directly with thousands of sessions and clients and in my own inner quest, I found that there is a very important thing that people must understand, and that is what is the cause of suffering. And I also have developed a cure. So I'm excited to speak more about that as we get going here with the interview.
Okay. So you wrote a book, Earth 2012, The Ultimate Quest. Could you give us a little bit background of what that book is?
Yes, it actually brings out a pretty unique perspective, my perspective on this very historic time we're in. And it delves deeply into what is behind a lot of the things we see taking place today, as there seem to be light and dark elements on the rise, and a lot of prophecies and predictions coming from both Indian nations and seers and the scientific community. So we're literally bombarded today with a host of these predictions, and largely of a dire nature, and yet there's another glorious potential that is birthing from within us. And so I speak to both of these things in the book, and why they're occurring, and why I believe we could be moving into a glorious future, and yet some of the hurdles that we need to go through, and things that we need to address if we're going to make it into that safe shore. So it's a book that really speaks about this historic time and extraordinary people that seem to be playing an amazing role, and their signature that it gives them, and also what is that behind everything, and what is a cure, what is a remedy.
So you're talking about prophecies both from, the spiritual side as well as the scientific side, and that it seems to me most of them are nefarious or doom-laden. What is your take on that aspect of those prophecies, that they seem to be so much more about the finite qualities of humanity rather than, the infinite qualities of our spirituality?
Yeah, I think that's because the world is more riveted on the practical, physical realities, and the other side to this equation that I've seen in my own visions and some of the visions of others, and which I believe is also a vision encoded in the hearts of humanity for a transformed world, that is more the unseen hand that's playing out, and I feel a mission around bringing that to light also, and I'm currently working on book 2 that really speaks to that side, the light side of our planetary equation. I do think that prophecies serve us in that there has been a lot of warnings about this time, predominantly from Indian nations, from other elders around the world, seers before this time, that, we did escalate to a point where we were bringing out technologies and advancing forward technologically, but not our hearts, not our spiritual awareness, and so causing an imbalance in the earth. And that the escalation of wars, the escalation of this unconscious side of humanity with the use of these technological advances could really bring devastation and destruction in our time, and be burdening and polluting the earth so much that it would naturally be catalyzed to go through massive changes, to throw off these circumstances it was beset with from the human world. So we are facing many dire potentials, and yet there's an amazing destiny I see being birthed in the midst of it, against the backdrop. And I think that significantly this destiny rests upon a certain type of soul that has embodied upon this planet at this time to be here to assist to move the planet into a better future, who the Indian nations did prophesize would be coming, and others have too, of this coming race. And, as we go forward in this interview, I'd love to share more about this people, because I think the listeners on your show might find that this signature really matches who they are as well, and that they could very well be one of these people.
So when you're talking about the Indian nations, are you talking about the indigenous people that were here in the Americas, or actually from...
Yes, the Indian nations of America significantly and each individually had a prophecy of a coming race that would be born throughout the world at a very dire time on the planet, that in the future the earth would start suffering under the weight of pollution. There would be an increase in wars and the potential of a third war, that they prophesied. They prophesied World War I, II, and then a third war, that if things weren't turned around, there would be a third war. The interesting thing on their prophecies is that they were not set in stone, that there would be wake-up calls to humanity, but if humanity did not heed these calls, did not tend to their inner world and shift their thinking and way of being and way of life and begin honoring Mother Earth again and living in balance, that these things would occur. But against this whole backdrop of the dire potentials they laid forth, each nation individually, possibly unaware of the other nation's prophecy on it, were prophesizing these people that would come, that would be born throughout the planet out of every race and nation. And therefore they gave them the name the Rainbow Warriors. Rainbow meaning the rainbow of being born from many different races, but they weren't just from one race. And I have seen this prophecy coming true, and I wrote about it and introduced this in the first book of the Earth 2012 series. And in my second book now, I'm writing the whole story of these people and the incredible mystical experiences they're having, because they were very much a mystical race. They are a race of people who have a distinct consciousness languaging, that know each other when they meet each other, though they're from other nations and peoples, who have a similar ideology and a vision of a transformed world, who have significant qualities that give them, this distinct signature. And I gave them the violet signature because I saw that the predominant quality of their life, of their way of life, their consciousness was really violet, violet being the ray of transformation, and that how these individuals are undergoing a vast inner transformation, and they're very fiery activists as well, that is helping cause a outer transformation, so a personal and planetary transformation.
So you mentioned that the Indians' prophecies, or the Native Americans' prophecies, were open-ended, meaning that they allowed for the free will to stop the forward momentum of the course they're presently set. But then we're having the Rainbow Warriors who are set aside. Now, do they get the same benefit of free will? Do they get to choose to follow the path that leads them to their potential, or can they ignore it?
Yeah, I think all of us can ignore it, definitely, but the dire potentials that are escalating are acting as a huge catalyst. They're compelling us to change. They're compelling us to seek answers, just as, when we undergo dire conditions ourselves, when we begin to suffer and have pain, we seek an answer, we seek a remedy. So it's really the dire necessity of the moment, I think, in time, that is helping catalyze these souls. But I also think that they came in with a distinct destiny. They were encoded with a destiny to assist our planet move into a better future, because I've worked with so many of them and delved deeply in their psyches as I've helped them free themselves from patterns and limitations and what was holding them back. And I just have heard the same story. Yes, I came in and, went into this abuse as a young child, so that I could work through it, and in finding a way out, I would have a gift for humanity. So I see in these people this light in their eyes, even though they came under the same amnesia all of humanity undergoes coming into this earth, and took on the same patterns that are passing down all the lineages of all the families of Earth. So they didn't come in as enlightened beings to walk in this world like Jesus walked, to Buddha walked, to help bring humanity to a safer shore, to a more enlightened future. They literally came in and got embedded with the same pattern. But the thing that seems so distinctly different with this group of souls is that they don't fit with the patterns as generations in the past have done. They don't just say, this is my personality and this is how I am. They wrestle with it. They fight it. They want to find answers. And this has put them on a mystic quest, a quest to find out why, what is the shadow side of their personality, and what is their light side, and who are they, and they so want to remember who they are and what is their purpose. And it's hugely significant when you understand that these are millions of people on this planet at this time undergoing this huge awakening to who they really are, freeing themselves from these patterns that keep them limited and in a false reality, and rising up to fill a purpose that is really committed to positive planetary change. It's hugely significant and cannot go without notice, and that's why I feel a mission in these particular series of books to highlight this as a very significant and important aspect of this historic time we're in, that yes, the planet is fast hurtling towards disaster, and we need to wake up, and we need to free ourselves from subconscious patterning and momentum that is keeping us from living our full potential. Because if our full potential does not become realized, we are not going to be able to shift our planet to a more conscious reality. Because the world as I found it, and through all my deepest research and delving to the heart of these matters, I found that the world is reflecting the unhealed wounds in the psyche of humanity. The direct cause of everything we're seeing is subconscious programming that's traversed our family lines for millennia on this planet. And that is why, while humanity has this inherent desire for peace and harmony and love, while humanity has always had visions of the highest love, you see all the movies and the beautiful books and works throughout time, you see that humanity longs for a utopian society, to have peace on earth. Humanity never realizes it. So the will and intention of the people for peace is not enough. The conscious awareness of, oh, we could have this and we want this, is not enough. But what is really important for people now to wake up to, since all of these other methods haven't worked, the best religious doctrines, the saints and sages throughout time that have come and helped steer humanity to a better future, the way has been paved for us to live more conscious lives, but no one has really given the tools and the keys to how to do this. How do we move from the stress and strain and the patterns that we're embedded with to this conscious reality so we can live according to a higher will and plan and help birth heaven on earth? And this is the big dilemma facing humanity, and I feel is what must be addressed in this time if we are going to shift out of these dire potentials and have a different future for our children and those who come after us. We must get into the subconscious. We must now go into that last frontier and conquer. We must become masters of our shadow and not let it play out day in and day out as we argue and fight with our loved ones, and our little wars translate into the greater wars, and we pollute our consciousness with negative thoughts and thinking, and then that reflects out as pollution on the planet. And so this has been largely my life's work, is to not only find out what is the cause of all the problems we're seeing on the planet, but to find a cure. And I've done that. I'm excited about it. I found a way to isolate these patterns, trace what's happening in our outer world and in our lives, from illnesses to financial problems to relationship issues, and how to really work with those subconscious programs that are causing all this in our lives, and to heal them very quickly. And that's the quest. It's a full counseling theory and healing practice I developed, like Gestalt, NLP, and some of these other greats from the last century. I mastered those. I went on to do deep work, research work in the psyche, proved my theories with thousands of cases, and now I'm brought this offering out to humanity, and not only to train practitioners to serve communities, but also I distilled it into a 7-step, very simple, very powerful self-counseling, self-healing process, and I give that in my book, and I lay it all out so people around the world can now start delving deeply into their own psyche, get to the heart of their life problems and challenges, heal it, resolve it, learn to live more often in their authentic nature, their proactive self, and be that electrode of light in the planet, electrode of healing and positive forward movement, while also compassionately healing their shadow as it arises. And this is a level of self-mastery and life mastery I'm really excited to impart to the human world at this time.
So you mentioned like an unconscious framework that we all come with. You actually said generational back a bit. So are you saying that this might potentially travel through our DNA, or is this unconscious shackle that we have that doesn't allow us to move forward something that we build as we ourselves during our lifetimes grow?
Yeah, both. I mean, it's definitely these programs passed down family generations. You can see them as national programs, subconscious programming. For instance, different nations have different ways of, societal beliefs and structures. Maybe in Japan, they've been taught not to show emotion. In other countries, they'll have like in the European nations, there's a lot of belief systems around working hard for a living, toiling to get where you need to get to in life. There's not a sense of that life could just bestow its abundance, like St. Francis of Assisi kind of broke apart from that European ideology, and he says, wait a minute, birds are taken care of, flowers are taken care of, everything gets to bloom and become their full potential with all this wondrous support of light and color and rain and rich soil. Why not humans? Why are we toiling? And he kind of broke the pattern in his life. But humanity's been under these programs that have just passed down generationally that are societal and family programs. But we've also picked up our own programs of beliefs, too, from our own life experiences and misinterpreting those experiences. So at the core of it all is these beliefs we've taken on as a humanity that are really not true, and yet these create patterns that make it true. So if we have a belief system that life is hard, deep in our core of our subconscious, and this is programmed in, that will prevail. Our life will be hard. And the only way to undo that is not to try to mentally coerce ourselves out of that belief, because now you're dealing with two different bodies and it's just not an effective way. It doesn't work. We have to go into the subconscious and literally reprogram it. And we haven't known about this until now. And these things, this awareness just started to come out in the last century as we delve further into, well, what is the dilemma besetting humanity, and then can we get a cure here? Humanity's miserable. People are suffering all the time. Let's help them resolve their issues. And I went on, beyond, what came out in the last century, and I feel like some of the discoveries I've made are so landmark, so mind-blowing, and yet such a light to humanity that we really can move out of this programming. We can lay it to rest in our lifetimes. We can change the little DNA of our programming back to the innate design that was a destiny for this planet, that is in our mythology around Eden, and that the world was a glorious Eden world, a heaven world, and that all things that were given to humanity to prosper and to bless humanity and to live in a way of life harmoniously and in peace, with happiness, with joy. We've departed Eden. And whether it was an actual place and time or continent, or whether it's in our mythology, because we know we've departed from the life that we probably live on higher realms when we're not on earth, it's in there. It's in our hearts. We know that there is a way to live harmoniously, peacefully, to have abundance, to live free. And yet these patterns are strangling us. They are holding humanity in its grip, and they are literally driving our planet to destruction in this moment in time, and they must be addressed. And I feel that is the biggest, most important thing I am here to share, with the people of this world is we must address these. We must heal them, or it's going to be the great travail that has been prophesied, and which I know many people join me in wanting to help avert at this time.
So it's almost like we carry a societal self-fulfilling prophecy in our unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty interesting. So
for destruction and suffering and demise.
Yeah. So if we don't shift this to a different paradigm, do you think the world will come to an end?
I don't know about coming to an end because, of course we have the mythology, which many scientists are trying to prove too, of Atlantis, of a time where humanity reached the peak of civilization as they have today, and that through the undoing from the human world, it all imploded and continents sank and there was mass destruction. And then, of course, in the Bible it talks about Sodom and Gomorrah and something that sounds like a nuclear war or some kind of disaster. I think that one of the most alarming things that I've discovered in working so deeply in the psyche of humanity is to discover that really while people have a heart for and a vision of a better life, that really this has been a world of suffering, where people come to suffer because the embedded programming is so strong that really it is translating into everybody having hardships, challenges, and suffering, and nobody, it eludes nobody. And unfortunately, well-meaning religions in the past and religious leaders have strived to make sense of this element, and so they've adopted these beliefs like suffering is a way of life, or this is a way you redeem yourself and purify yourself, or, you have to pay for your karma, so you must suffer. And these ideologies have literally added and programmed millions of people around the world to believe that suffering is a way of life that they must submit to, and that that's what it's all about here. And I found that that is not true.
I think a lot of people, when looking at religion specifically, I think they mistake that karma is more about selfishness than it is about selflessness. And when you're selfish is when you put something bad out there. I think that's where you run into a lot of the suffering. You cause your own suffering by not being selfless and being selfish. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
I just think that even though there's a lot of emphasis from great works coming out today like The Secret and Eckhart Tolle's work and others, that how important it is for our minds to have a mindset of peace and harmony and loving, of goodwill, of selflessness. It's really impossible for us to attain that if we don't have mastery over our shadow, over our subconscious, because physiologically it's even impossible for us to have our wills in charge and keep us on this positive mind frame and mindset, because just think about it, when something happens to you and you start feeling stressed and upset, immediately, physiologically, the brain recedes from your frontal lobe, where is your conscious will and intention, and the part of you that could discern and say, oh, okay, I must stay peaceful, I'm not going to give way to this anger or this upset. The blood literally recedes. The limbic brain, at the same time at the back of the head, the limbic brain kicks in, and this is where all the subconscious programs are held, and the whole survival mechanism of that arises in this fight and flight syndrome. And so it's physiologically impossible for the mind to shift in that moment in time to peace. We really get run with these emotions. But I found a way that instead of trying to mentally coerce yourself out of what you're feeling, like, oh, I'm having all this fear. Fear is bad, therefore I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm going to be peaceful and calm. Instead of this type of approach that's taught very widely, and I have to say is not effective in these moments of time, what I found is effective is in that moment of time when this program starts running, when we start feeling upset, when things are coming undone around us. That is the moment when you must have attained a level of mastery from working your self-healing process over time to where in that moment you can realize, all right, an inner part of me has activated, and an inner aspect that is the subconscious subpersonality is now getting activated, and that part of me is fearful, troubled, upset, and angry. When you can understand that, and you have that body of knowledge because you have been working your self-healing process as things have arisen, when it gets to these harder moments of time, you have more mastery. Then in that moment, and which is the first step of the quest, you can feel all the feelings coursing through you, but not act on them. And this is important. Never act on them. Never make a decision. Don't try to resolve an issue with your mate. Just really hold with it, as if you're standing in a huge waterfall pouring on you of intense energy. That's what these emotions are like. And just sit with it for a minute. Let it stew for maybe even an hour or two as you get in touch with what are these feelings. But immediately, start looking within. What are these feelings? And then as quick as you are able, start seeing, getting a visual image of the part of you that is actually feeling that way. And it'll show itself, the subconscious will show itself as, a person in great alarm, or all angry with red coming out of them, or heavily burdened. The second you have identified the part of you that is been activated, that is upset, that's when you are in control. That's when you move out of being controlled by the shadow, run by the shadow, in the grip of your shadow, and you are the master. And in that moment, if you will lovingly apply the 7 steps that I've laid forth in the book, you will be able to take that part of you through this most incredibly deep and profound passage, which will feel like an adventure, for you to uncover things that are hugely relevant for you, your soul's path, your life, your destiny, and you will be able to heal and resolve it. And this could be even done in less than an hour. I do them in about 10, 15, 20 minutes. My son, who's now 21, who I trained from the time he was 16 for a year and a half, he would be able to resolve them in about 20 minutes. Very quickly, we can heal and resolve the part of us that was quaking, that was having this, and we move back in that moment to our authentic selfhood and our radiant, illumined, empowered, proactive, positive self. And from that place, we can make the most effective decisions and take the most timely action steps to help remedy what we're dealing with. And when you do this as a life mastery path, when you live this way, and I can honestly say this, I have mastered this. I'm not just writing about and teaching something I would like to master. I have literally been living this. And what happens to you is the downtime, the time of misery and suffering becomes minimal in your life. Even going through Dark Night of the Souls and the most immense heavy passages, if you apply this self-healing technique, the 7-step process, each time you get upset, each time something arises and you're dealing with something in your world that's uncomfortable, you will not only heal the patterns that are helping create the situation, because these parts of us are directly related. The part that gets upset is directly related and helping create the problem, the outer problem. And you also will make sense of why, as a soul, with a good intention, you've had to go through this, and you understand more about your psychology and your makeup and what happened and how you gained it. So you will also become masterful in living more often in your authentic self and living your highest destiny potential, something that few people on earth have ever been able to live before this time, because the subconscious programming has been running everyone to such a degree no one has even realized and noticed anything was wrong. Everyone just thinks this is a part of their personality, and they haven't realized that beneath these programs is this amazing, authentic self that is wise, powerful, that knows the answers to everything, that is directly linked with God or the divine aspect of life, our source, the higher plan for our world, for our lives. And when we're linked up, when we are in living that divine will, that highest intention for our lives, it's magic. And anything can happen. Our lives transform, and the planet can transform. And this is an offering that I am so excited to give humanity, that I've had to go through the most excruciating experiences and trials in my own life to bring forth, to find and develop and bring forth. And it's exciting to give it as an offering right now when we're in such dire need on a planetary level.
So you've mentioned you've uncovered the cause of suffering and that you have the cure. I mean, is this part of the cure?
That is the cure, yes. Number one, the cause of suffering I found in thousands of cases, 100% of the time, is the subconscious programs. I have traced everything in my clients, from sabotage of their businesses, illnesses, financial demise, dark night of the soul passages, depression, anything of a dire nature I found. Anything that makes us uncomfortable, that's hard to deal with, any emotions from anger, rage, upset, depression, and all the things that we deal with on the shadow side of life, those are all subconscious parts of us that are having those emotions and having those personality dysfunctional traits, you could call them. When we're happy, when we're peaceful, when our relationships are loving, when the money's flowing and everything's feeling good, that's a reflection of our divine nature, our authentic nature, our true self. And that self is not being allowed to have much of a voice in our world. Neither has it been allowed to have its vision be manifest in the physical reality. We see it in beautiful architecture and amazing music and an outpouring of humanity and beautiful art and literary, works and things like that. As we beautify our world, that's that divine part of us. That's that authentic part of us that creates a better world, that cares about others, that brings food to the needy, that wants to make the world a better place, that has the insight and the vision and the ability to do it, and all the innate talents and everything that we would need to create a better world. So really the key is, if we want to stop suffering as a way of life on earth, we need to heal these patterns that are clouding over this amazing illumined part of us that would actually birth a different world. And to birth a different world, that part of us needs to be active. So the best I found we can do, because we are so embedded with these patterns that are creating so much havoc and suffering in our personal lives and then, expanded out globally, the best we can do is master our shadows so we live more often in each day in our authentic, proactive self, attuned to the higher will and for the betterment of our lives and all humanity. But we are going to have things triggered. Every week there's a new thing. And I'm sure you can agree, you're cruising along feeling great, and then someone says something or does something, and then here's all these emotions. So the key is not to ignore them and try to get into some false voodoo, happy, peaceful, spiritually bypassed place with it, but to really compassionately, immediately minister to that part of you and say, I'm here. I have these tools, and I want to heal and transform you and get you aligned too with my divine intention, with the highest intention for my life, and my intention live in heaven on earth in my life experience now, my intention to have an abundant and happy and prosperous, fulfilling life, my intention to help assist the planet move into that Eden that, is within our capacity to realize and bring forth and manifest. That we must allow this inner self, this powerful inner self of us to manifest it, because that's the part of us, the creative genius part, that has the templates, the archetypes for the new society, the new millennium, the new world. It is encoded with it, and it knows how to implement it. So we need to give it the power in our life, and we need to stop giving the power to our subconscious programs, but not be mean to them, not alienate ourselves to them or think they're wrong and bad, but have compassion. They've been carried on like innocent little children with beliefs they took on that are just not accurate, and we want to update and put in the new, the better, the more truthful beliefs about the world, about life, that no, life is not hard, life is blessed, there's abundance for everyone, all of these truths, that are about our world, and get these things reprogramming back so that we're back to who we really are, and our world then can reflect that.
So basically you're saying when you're confronted with an uncontrolled emotion, it's not the best idea to repress it or to allow it to cause you to explode in some kind of paroxysm, but rather to introspect on that specific aspect of why that emotion is being invoked?
And bring it through a healing. Yeah, and I unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, I learned that the hard way. I was a master at spiritual bypass. I had delved deeply into, I think, what I feel is some of the most advanced spiritual teachings on the planet in my early, questing in my teen and early 20s, and I had mastered it. I was going through a really heartbreaking time at one point, really devastating, and I was just cruising most of the time up in this high, lofty place. I just threw myself into service. I, was having groups come in, and we were doing prayers for the planet, and, all this amazing spiritual work, and I was totally ignoring my broken heart. I was totally ignoring devastated parts of me. And I was doing what we all have been taught on this planet, that you don't delve into anger and you don't feel all these things because they're bad. So I did this for a couple years, and I, was suffering from abuse from a relationship and feeling extremely devastated on deep levels of my being from it, and yet I was disconnecting and disassociating from those feelings and just cruising in this higher self and service mode. And I was really shocked when I was starting to think about these things, like, why would a spiritual girl who's living the highest teachings and giving community service to this degree have this in her life? Well, number one question. Why would I be suffering abuse? Wouldn't all blessings flow into my life because I'm living the right formula? So that was a big question. Another question was, why do these things happen to good people? Why is there suffering? It made me look out to other people and see, that there was a whole planet filled with all these hardships, and why are good people going through all this? But the biggest wake-up call for me is when I got 2 heart attacks within 6 months, and I was a really healthy person. Always had a healthy lifestyle and ate healthy foods, and yet here I had these 2 heart attacks within 6 months, and it just shook my world. And what I found out from that was that not only was my heart in dire need of assistance, but I had contracted an incurable heart virus that could quickly debilitate me to death. So I sat there stunned with 4 small young children in this amazing life I was leading that as a spiritual teacher, writing amazing, uplifting articles for the community. I had a TV show, Quest for Truth, prime time in Hawaii, on Maui, and Oahu, airing with amazing programming of helping delve deeply into great exposés and cancer cures and all these amazing advances and spiritual teachings. And in the midst of all this, I contract, and I'm getting abused, and I contract an incurable heart virus, and I have 2 heart attacks. And it just rocked my world.
As to be expected. I mean, so do you still have the heart condition, or have you cured that, or?
Well, it opened up a journey like I've seen with many people with grave challenges in this life. They seem to take us on a journey, and if we have an intention for healing, it will be a healing journey. No matter how dire the circumstance, no matter how embedded the pattern or addiction that grips us, if we have an intention for healing, it will lead us on a pathway of healing that will be profound. And, we hear stories like that all the time. In my own history, yes, I took my 4 children out of that relationship. I just found the strength to take them out, to have to start over, to cry myself to sleep at night, just sad, that I thought I had met my beloved and this was my soulmate, and how could all this happen? And now to be alone and a single mother, fending for herself with 4 kids. And amazingly, because I had such a strong will to live and intention, like, no way am I leaving these children, and I'm not done on this planet yet. I just started drawing to me health practitioners that, were amazing. And the medical profession could not help me at that point. They're like, well, we don't have a cure. And that's why I say it was incurable. But significantly, I ended up moving to Montana and taking where my girlfriend was, and a really dear friend, and I wanted to be near her, and I brought the kids there to the middle of nowhere in Montana, like this tiny, tiny town of Livingston, and 23 miles down the road with this wonderful Swedish couple, and they had this little institute and this little center where they were bringing these pioneering doctors in the fields of alternative medicine, holistic health, psychology, and who were giving trainings. And I just was drawn like a moth to the flame. I just started taking all these trainings. And, some were from, the center of big centers in Europe, like in Christensen, Norway, the Center of Alternative Medicine, and Dr. Christian Jansen and his work on pioneering work on immune biology, and some of these others on the personality traits and the relationship to disease and emotions and their relationship to different body organs. And I just got all this foundational knowledge and this really advanced knowledge. And with these methods, I was able to keep myself from debilitating, but still couldn't have a cure. And if I went under a lot of stress, I would literally have my heart starting to constrict. I'd have pains, and I would be laid flat, like no energy for like weeks, and literally be hard to go from my bed to get a glass of water. I'd have so little energy. So I was kind of battling with that, but I was with healthy lifestyle, my normal positive spiritual bypassing mind, that kept me on the positive track, and, some of these methods. I was starting to, clear things and get to really helping support my body. After 2 years of that, I became a holistic health practitioner. So as often happens to people, our trials lead us to our work and our purpose on earth. And so there I had my first leg of, being a holistic health practitioner and being able to help many people. And I went back to Hawaii and ended up having this extraordinary experience where a Hawaiian kahuna literally stepped into my life. He walked into my driveway, and he was there from Portland, where he was also a Shaolin master, and he had a school that he was doing, and he was bringing. I guess he was burying his father, and he also had a martial arts school in Honolulu, so he would go back and forth. And he said, "You play such healing music here," and we started talking, and the next day he came back and he said, "I have to tell you something, Aurora. You know, I'm a kahuna in the Hawaiian tradition, a healer, elder, and I've had these visions about you that in the future you're healing and helping people all over the planet, and I feel I'm meant to pass this lineage to you, that you're meant to be my successor as a kahuna, and normally we're supposed to pass to someone in our family, but I feel like you're soul family, and it's meant for you." So he began downloading the most powerful healing arts from the Huna tradition and literally taking my hand and leading me in the psyche, and the understanding that the Hawaiian kahunas had of the subconscious was profound. It was mind-blowing to me. And after training in these really advanced systems and starting to get a handle on some of these things, I really could recognize, well, this is very powerful knowledge and not light at all. I mean, this is an incredible understanding of the psyche and how to work with the psyche, how to work with what they call the unahapili, is the subconscious, and how to work with the unahapili. So it was phenomenal experiences over the next years where he would just, every time I'd see him, he'd just download next pieces, and my healing work with people would just go to the whole next level. I started working with people's psyches. And it inspired me to enter a master's degree program in psychology, which I was so blessed to find the University of Santa Monica in California. USM is the most phenomenal school on the planet, I believe, for psychology, because it not only downloads to you all the cutting-edge counseling theories and practices to date, which all came in the last century with Gestalt, NLP, psychosynthesis, reality therapy, like Dr. Phil does, behavioral therapies, person-centered counseling, but you get the opportunity to work it in your own life and to start resolving issues for your own self using these methods. So it's a phenomenal way to train counselors, and it's the way with the quest that I'm actually training my counselors and my students with, really passing on through experience and having them work their own process too while perfecting the art of counseling. So that started getting me into, deeper into my psychology and doing a lot of sessions. And I went on, after I went on to my PhD program, and my thesis was really about that beyond these programmings that are really causing the havoc on the planet, we have this innate identity, and we need to get ourselves back to that, and that we need to heal these patterns so that this part of us can really manifest its glory in our lives and its higher intention, which is health, not disease, harmonious relationships, not, struggles, financial well-being and ease, and all of the high side of life. And in the process of developing the quest and perfecting it, I actually got to the deeper core issues in my own self of what was beyond my heartbreak, the heartbreak that literally broke my heart and made it not well. But, why a beautiful spiritual girl would even draw in abuse, what is the deeper causes of abuse, to break that pattern and heal it so it never reoccurred in my life, and to also get some of these other beliefs and patterns that I would call Saint Martyr pattern that I really stress as an important thing for humanity to understand. This embedding, it's really behind a lot of the suffering on the planet. It's a predominant pattern, and to see that in my own family lineage. And in healing all these things, my body was completely cured. And about 5 years ago, I went to a cardiologist who just was amazed. He just was like, not only do you not show any signs of ever having the 2 heart attacks now, any scarring and stuff that normally occurs, there's none of that. You're completely recovered and cured. And I've never had another incident since then, not a twinge or not that weakness or any of the other symptoms. So I was able to find a cure for that and also cure a lot of other things in my life. A lot of the St. Martyr patterns that was running, that was causing me to have betrayals happen in my life, to be abused, to meanness from people, to have financial demise and different things that had occurred that were always like mind-blowing, in which a lot of people feel is the hand of God smiting you, you know. And so there's a lot of mythology around all this, but I was able to make these discoveries and to bring what I think is a really happy information to the people of this world that, no, God is not smiting us. There's no outer deity dictating that we need to suffer. No, you know, God loves us. We are loved. We, in any moment, can tune into this blessing that is forever pouring upon us and wants the highest good for us through our inner selves. That's our link up. That's how we can be in touch with this glorious side of this universe and world and the higher intention and plan playing out and be a part of that. And that, you know, it's a very simple scientific equation. Subconscious programs are creating the hardship, suffering, and misery in your life. And if you want to change that, you need to go inside and reprogram that. And the quest is just a very easy, very effective, and very profound way to do it.
So you found through your own journey of self-discovery that, which led you to create the quest, that inner peace for yourself and for others can be attained?
Yes, and I would say I live in that maybe on a given day 90 to 99%, a lot of days 100%. And the percentage isn't 100% all the time because, like I said, we all have patterns that need to be healed, so they're going to be triggered up by loved ones and things that happen to us, and this is part of our destiny, I believe, to clean this up. And the only way to clean it up is it's going to have to come up. It's going to have to start playing out in our lives so we can identify it, get to the heart of it, and heal it. But yes, you can live more often in your authentic self, your proactive self, and that's the magical side of life. That's the mystical side that brings in the synchronicities, the amazing adventures, the incredible peace inside, that feeling of connectedness, and then, you know, when these other things are occurring, how to minimize it, how to, you know, shorten the time of misery. And, you know, I developed the quest out of dire necessity, you know, because as you remember, I was a girl that liked to spiritually bypass because I liked cruising in my higher self. I did not like to be a part of these kind of emotions, anger, jealousy, resentment, rage. I felt out of sync with those. And I know a lot of violet people on the planet do not know how to deal with this shadow side of themselves because they just can't relate. It's almost like we've come from a very high realm to come help the planet at this time, and we don't like this side of life. We don't like these emotions. They're horrific. And so we haven't known how to deal with them, and we just wanted to move away from them and keep ourselves free of them. And you know, like I said, I was really good at that. But the truth of the matter is that I learned that even while I was doing that, while I was cruising in my higher self, which the secret and all these great works say, this is important for us all. But while I was doing that, the subconscious was wreaking havoc in my life. I had drawn in a guy that I thought was amazing, but the second I got married became abusive. I was dealing with all kinds of other circumstances that of a dire nature, and it was hard to understand why, if you're living this highest formula, are these things taking place? You know, and why does bad things happen to good people? It's not fair. And so, of course, the religions of the world have tried to make sense of this, and that's built this whole mythology. It's because they hadn't gone into the psyche yet. This frontier hadn't been tapped. It's an uncharted realm. And I've been one of the first pioneers to get into it and to make sense of it all. and to find the answers that humanity has been trying to solve forever. And it's simple. It's a simple equation. And once understood and once applied, we could change this whole world around. Because I've been changing my life over and over again. Like every time the next thing appears, I undo it from within. It's like a whole tsunami will be ready to crash on my life and devastate me, and I'll do the inner peace. And all of a sudden, all the molecules of that devastation disappear before it hits, and instead I get this beautiful wave, this gentle wave carrying blessings to my shore, bringing blessings to my life. So for years I've seen that I can change my destiny, that I can help others change their destiny, because if we heal these patterns that are creating you to be an abused woman, then all of a sudden you will not have that in your future anymore. So your future has changed. And now your future is more happy, more peaceful, more amazing, and incredible, and more, that's your dream for your life. And so it's like magic, but it is very scientific, but it is in the realm of the psyche. And I think what most people don't understand is psychology is really the study of the soul. The psyche is the soul. So really to delve into it, to be a psychologist, to be a research psychologist, delving deeply into these things, you can't really do it unless you're a mystic. Because if you really delve in it in a way that is experiential rather than, studying theories and charts, that you're right in there, you're cruising in the realm of the soul. You get to the heart of the dilemma for humanity, and it is a mystic type of a uncovering of knowledge, true self-knowledge and understanding of who you are at the core of your being, and who you are not, and why these things are overlaid on you, and how you can change that and live more often in who you really are, and how you can become more and more aware of when you're not in you and when you are, so that you choose consciously to live in your conscious true self, but you're not spiritually bypassing like I did and letting these disasters just go like weeds in the gardens of your life, but you're actually addressing the shadow as it arises in a timely way. And I give my students, I say, get to it within 20 to 48 hours. Don't try to get to it in the day that it's happening, but some days we're busy and we start feeling miserable and the thing happened and it's churning in us, but we've got things to do and maybe we can't get to it before we go to sleep, but we really should at least get to it by the next day. We need to make time to get in there and heal it. And when we do, we'll immediately feel better.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get into the listener questions. A lot of these have to do with the actual 2012 stuff, so I just want to let you aware of that, I guess.
Okay.
Molgener, his question is, couldn't universal belief in prophecy carry us all to a self-fulfilled prophecy?
Could universal and what belief?
Universal belief in prophecy carry us all to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like basically saying if we all believe in one thing, then it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, I think if we were all had our minds riveted that the end of the world is coming, that's an energetic imprint onto the planet, right? We're using our conscious minds and the power of our imaging to create havoc. I know there's been studies now of the effect of television and movies where violent crimes perpetuate violence. And because we have so much violence today on the media, how it's really increasing violence on the planet. So there is a direct relationship with our thinking and our thought processes and patterns and how that imprints on a world. But I even found more powerful is the subconscious than the conscious mind. Because in reversing that, I at times was doing positive imaging and visualizations, and you say this thing, 1,000 times. Meanwhile, the house started going through foreclosure, and I'm like, okay, why aren't these formulas working? When I'm really good, I have a strong will in mind, and I can set clear intentions, and I'm doing this whole thing that's laid out. Why is something else manifesting? So I think what we need to understand is, yes, it's important to keep our thoughts positive, but it's a danger to shut ourselves off from seeing dire potentials so that we can deal with it. It's important to acknowledge there's been scientific as well as prophetic visions and predictions for our time of a dire nature, and that this is to alert us that a change needs to be made. And if, just like I was ignoring that I had a broken heart, if I had just listened to my broken heart and let myself feel what I was feeling, and if I had cared and was there for myself, I would have been out of that marriage faster. I might not have gotten the heart virus, because I would have been there 2 years with this going on. Of course, then I wouldn't have developed this, so all things working to a higher good. But I do feel that we must see clearly what's happening while not giving it energy. And the way to do that is to be aware. But if you start having fear and upset about it, heal that part of you so that you're back in your positive, centered self, dealing proactively with the things at hand in your life. And I think in that way, we will be awake and aware of potentials, but we won't be lending to the potentials. We'll be healing the subconscious parts of us that are creating them, and we will also be keeping our minds clear so that we're not projecting and doing mental creations of a dire nature.
Okay. The Frizzle Chips wants to know, with all the disturbing news, i.e. the economy failing, mass murder, wars, school shootings on the rise, could it be possible that we really are headed for a cataclysmic end?
Yes. Yes. And we have to wake up. These are all warning signs. We have to wake up. We have to take command. And the ways that we've done it in the past have not been working. And we need to deal with all of these things at hand. And I know it's overwhelming for everyone. I know it's hard for everyone in this moment in time, especially after the stock market has just crashed, for people to feel like we could have a positive future. But the thing is that there's many of us on the planet right now that have an intention for a positive future. And we need to have faith and know that our numbers can make a difference, and that we don't have to individually take care of all these problems ourselves and have them weigh us down. If we start feeling weighed down by the world going awry, it's important to heal those patterns, because the patterns we find inside us from our reactions to all of this are going to be directly related to creating this bad future. So we'll be doing our part. As we heal our patterns, we're doing our part. As we live more often in our authentic self and not be 8 years hating, someone that did something to us, or 3 months in a depression, or unhappy and agitated and stressed in an unhappy job for 1 year. When we learn how to really heal the stuff in us and live more often in our peaceful selves, we're going to be creating a better world from within our own life experience. And we can create heaven in our own life experience and create more and more blessed realities. And as other people around the world do that, it could just totally change our world in a twinkling of an eye.
Okay, and Knucklehead here says, if we're going to have happiness and potentially a new epoch of harmony in 2012, do we then lose our religion? And he says he's not.
I think, yeah, it's, do we then, he probably means, do we move away from our religious beliefs, or?
Yeah, he says he's not quoting REM, but he's wondering if we lose the religion, what religion will remain. I guess is kind of where he's leading.
Right. I think that the religions of the world have been well-meaning. They've all sought to help people to bring answers, but some have come out of dark ages where, you know, these high minds were trying to grapple with the dilemmas of a planet, of a people, and make sense of it. It's just like how the world was once thought to be flat. And there are some amazing truths to be found in all the religions that are eternal, that will always be, and they are a true reality. But I think what will happen is we come more and more into truth, into consciousness, into a utopian world, that the archaic beliefs that have come from society, religions, our family lines will be dissolving, and we will be in what people would say is we will be living a greater truth. We will have a greater awareness, and we won't be limited by false beliefs.
Okay. Well, I want you to give everybody the opportunity to, I want you to tell everybody where they can get a hold of your stuff. I know you've got some trips that you do, and you definitely do teachings and stuff, so I want to give you the opportunity here to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you for these things.
Okay, great. Well, Aurora Juliana Ariel with one N. You can Google me, find the different websites. We have this book and my new music CD, Renaissance of Grace, kind of gypsy world music, on AEOS, AEOS.ws for website. That is easy for you to purchase. Also Amazon and other bookstores around the world are carrying our products. I would love everyone to get a copy of Earth 2012, The Ultimate Quest, How to Find Peace in a World of Chaos, because I lay all this out in very easy terms, and I give you the quest process that really, if you will apply it, it can completely transform your life or the way you're living it. So I want to pass this into your hands. I'm very excited to get this to the people of the world. It's timely, so please avail yourself of that. I will be on a 2012 panel, one of the keynote speakers, in the New Living Expo, April 24th to 26th, and I think that's on the Saturday. So we'll be having a panel on that. I'm on another panel over the weekend. I'm also going to have my own speaking event on this book and on this topic. So those of you in the San Francisco area or who will be going to the New Living Expo in April 2009, please come see me. Let me know that you heard this radio interview, and come see my booth. And I think my booth is 218, so please come by. Also, we have a Egypt tour coming up. It was going to be this year, but it's just been so much with the crash and everything going on for people. But it's scheduled for March in 2012. It's going to be a 1 week of an incredible journey and an evening alone in the Great Pyramid, and me passing more of this technology to you and you awakening to your deeper purpose and your greater destiny potential. And that's on my website, so you'll be able to find out more of the timing. Please go on our website and make sure you subscribe so that you get my newsletters and updates on events and things coming up. I'll also be at the International New Age Trade Show in Denver for any of you in the trade and who have bookstores and want to carry our book. And the Music City, I'd love all of your help in getting the quest to the world, to counselors who are helping with prison reform, youth at risk, addiction programs, rehab centers, youth at risk camps and programs. My heart so much wants to get this into everybody's hands that really needs it. And eventually my vision and dream is to get it as curriculum into high schools and colleges so that everyone has this knowledge and can be masters of their psychology.
Awesome. And I'll also have links up to all your websites and to your books and your CD as well on my website. So if you're having trouble finding Dr. Aurora's stuff, you can go to the GrandDarkConspiracy.com, find it there as well. So I want to thank you for coming on so much. It's been enlightening. I wish we had more time to talk, but unfortunately we didn't. So because I know there's a lot more information that you'd like to share. Thank you so much for coming on the Grand Dark Conspiracy.
Thank you, Daniel. I am so grateful for the opportunity. Blessings to everyone. And please email me if you try out the quest. I want to know how things are going for you and your experiences. Also, in these upcoming books in the Earth 2012 series, I'm collecting stories on the mystical side. So if you have stories about your awakening, healings, divine visitations, anything with divine encounters or encounters with dolphins or whales or anything else significant that has been life-changing for you or helped you live your purpose or find your purpose or bring out your work, please email me at info@aeos.ws and share your story. And it very well could be in a book in the future and helping inspire millions of people around the planet.
Once again, I want to thank Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel for coming on the podcast. If you want to learn more about her, you can go to the Grand Dark Conspiracy website and link up to her stuff, either through the guest page there or the news page. So be sure to get out to GrandDarkConspiracy.com and check out all that Dr. Aurora has to offer. Also, I always like to encourage everybody to communicate with us. So if you have questions, suggestions, emails, or you want to share a story or want to suggest a guest for the podcast, you can email me at webmaster@granddarkconspiracy.com, or you can sign up to our forums at granddarkconspiracy.com. Just click on the forum buttons. Probably a 2-minute sign-up process there. We're not going to spam you or anything, so you can get on there and share your thoughts and ideas with other people who are interested in the paranormal, as well as share ghost stories and whatnot. As always, I want to thank Brian Parsons of Para News Insider and the OPIN for helping us with the news and supplying us with a little controversial rant now and then. So if you've got any, if you want to get in touch with him, he also participates in the forum, or you can go to his website, paranewsinsider.com. So until next month, I want to thank everybody for listening and everybody who's helped participate and create this podcast. So until next month, keep conspiring.